I'm going to introduce Kristen Case, who is teaching at the University of Maine in Farmington. And it's true that I'm jet-lagged, but it's also true that the print is teeny tiny, and this is white on pink. So bear with me. I'd like to read what Brian Tier says about Kristen's book, Little Arias. So, Kristen Case's Little Arias meticulously situates a woman's experience in the immediacy of relations with language, objects, other people, and the present tense. What makes this book so poignant, however, is the fierce commitment to also recording moods and thoughts that at first would seem to negate relations. Absence, loss, and solitude all find their place here, paradoxically, as part of possibility, the fullness of being in the world. Kristen.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Cecily, too, for organizing this reading. It's really lovely to be here in this beautiful space, and thanks to all of you for coming. I lost just last week a very dear person, and so I'm going to read some old poems for him. He passed away. I didn't mean to be mysterious about that. So I'm going to read some poems for him, and then some newer work. The first poem is autobiography. 1. We took the bus and arrived late. We had between us one bag. No one spoke on the bus. We held the things we owned and watched the night drive past us. Between the houses and the sky, the tremor of each leaf briefly bound. The house was cold when we arrived. We slept on 2 twin beds pushed together. 2. Hesperus is Hesperus, Hesperus is phosphorus. My father held something in his shaking hand, a glass of water or a glass of wine. The darkness of trees among the leaves, tiny rivulets of light. I slept for a while, or you did. We dreamt of driving. Later, I made a list, universals and particulars. You used to carry suitcases of cigarettes and books. 3, we drove late nights in summer to the lake. I could not tell which of the houses or the tiny lights crowded along the branches of the trees meant you. Your leaving had no weather, no color, no name. The clouds wheeled toward us, building themselves from nothing. Second poem is called The History of Sleeping. This was during a phase in which I was very heavily influenced by Robert Creeley, so you might hear that at the end of this poem. The History of Sleeping. The history of sleeping is the history of light spread like a sheet across the warehouse walls. In the grass, shards of it slide along the bent blades into the small darknesses beneath. The houses whisper as you go past, asking what, asking when, asking what. Gramsci. You are saying something about revolution, the ineffectuality of incremental change. I am dicing an onion, peeling back the skin, watching the way it seems to want to unfold, the way the rings repeat, a kind of record. On the cutting board, the clean cubes multiply, white against the knife's edge. I have nothing to say about the prison notebooks. My eyes are filled with tears. Okay, I'm going to read a couple poems from the book. Morning. Against all probability, our bulbs have blossomed, opened their white rooms, given their assent. I pull myself from your breathing to take a closer look. It happened overnight. Outside, a flock of birds folds and unfolds its single body. I start the coffee. Light comes from impossible directions. You are still asleep. I cup the curve of your skull with my hand, alive, sleeping. Light rises on the flame-colored bricks. This one's called Being with One Absent. Composed of transit, of a continual efflux, a going out, a gathering of feeling around a space, a halo around remembered presence or bare words or digital trace, the fringe around the absent other partakes mysteriously by undisclosed circuit of the feeling of the absent other. In being with one long absent or dead, imagination elides the present into the shared past, ringed with a heavy hollowness felt along the uterine wall. Such imaginings make the physical present feel meager, depthless. This witness obliterates others. This poem's called Glass. This is a more recent one. The first work is the integration of glass, to make by degrees within the density of muscle an opening into which a sharp-edged glass vessel might be placed, and so to contain a specific absence within the body, to think as clearly as possible this sensation and its concomitant damage, a fine and blood-limbed fraying beneath the rib cage, and to place it alongside the coffee, the irises overtaking the concrete doorstep. It is not the truth. It cannot teach you anything. It is only a glassed-in quantity of air and light. Make a mouth and swallow it. Okay. I'm just going to read two more poems, both of which are pretty recent. This one's called Second Person. And it has a quote from Walden, from Thoreau's Walden. In October, you wake with the feeling of a dream word, meaning at once violence and opening, a word with an open vowel sound like want. If you stand right front and face to face a fact, you will see the sun glimmer on both its surfaces as if it were a scimitar, and feel its sweet edge dividing you through the heart and marrow, and so you will happily conclude your mortal career. The trees bear their burning so gracefully, it urges one toward apostrophe. I catch the sun only on one side, like a message with half the letters erased. Oh, small words, what is this suicide by fact? Each of the small drops in line along the ruined plants holds a tiny sun. It was both a swift and a slow rivening, the fact that you are not you, right fronting, face to face. Oh, second person singular, oh, grammatical function, imaginary friend, sky and ripe apples and smoke from chimneys. Whom shall I say is calling? And one last one. This is untitled for the moment. Fragility of the body, for example, the failure of eyes publicly disclosed by the fact of glasses, or shivering of the body in response to cold, public vulnerability to weather everywhere, to carry this fragility into the world, to hold it with you where you are watched, to be publicly wounded, to be a public body, to risk address, to suffer visibility, to suffer visibly an intimate address, to be a body seen, to listen, to be subject to sound, a sounding onto the body to absorb others, to absorb the voices of others, to be publicly wounded, to carry voices and sounds, to be cold in public, to be visibly cold, to have a body, to be a body publicly, to want, for example, food, breathing publicly, the private mechanisms of breath made visible as in exercise, or cold, visibly to be a living body, visibly to carry this fragility publicly, to risk at all moments both beauty and non-beauty, for example, to risk at every moment desire and the absence of desire, publicly to confess tiredness, hunger, headache, breathing, publicly to confess brokenness, boredom, breathing, to confess weather, for example, crying publicly or visibly, stopping oneself from crying, to show outward sign of, to show any inward mechanism, to show. The world does not despise you. The world does not despise you. The world does not renounce your body. The world does not despise you. Thanks very much. Woo.